Hey friends, okay, today we're going to talk about, stop using your trauma as an excuse. So this might be a triggering topic, and there's going to be two types of people who are going to click on this video. There's going to be those of you who clicked on it because you said yes, stop using your trauma as an excuse. You're going to completely agree with it. And there's going to be other people who are going to start writing me essays of hate mails. So I get that. I get you both. And I want you to give me 5 minutes and just to talk about both of them. And after, feel free to stay or to delete this video from your feed forever. Okay. I want to talk about how trauma is real. I think we all know that. Right? But why is it that some of us hate the fact that people continue to use it over and over and over again as an excuse? So, okay, first, let me talk about why trauma is real, even though this is very understandable. It shapes us into the people that we are today to an extent that we don't even know how. So, for example, they did studies on children during 9/11. It's obviously a traumatic event if there are kids who have literally gone through 9/11 in the city at the time it happened. And so they did studies on children who've had parents or guardians who were completely there for them and were able to help soothe them, help guide them, and give them an outlet to express the pain and the trauma that they experienced. And another group of kids who didn't have that had a worse experience later on as adults when it came to depression and anxiety and struggling with those things. And so what it showed, and this isn't the only study, but what it shows is that people, children, human beings, we do a lot better. We're able to actually cope when we have someone there to help us through it. When we have loved ones, when we have people who we are connected with, who we feel safe with, who are there to understand us and able to get us through that problem, right? So it's not an event. Trauma isn't necessarily the event. It's more so how we're able to, or in this case, with people who are traumatized, how they are unable to cope with the event, with the traumatic event that has happened. So this obviously, with children is the hardest because with adults, we learn things, maybe we read books, maybe we go to therapy and we have a set of skills, or we have a set of tools that we're able to utilize, such as walking, meditation, exercise, reaching out to friends, going to therapy, that is able to help us process events in our lives. But children don't have that processing power whatsoever. And so when you are a child and you go through divorce, you go through abuse, you go through bullying, any sort of pain, and you have no way of processing it, what happens is it actually lives in your body, right? The body keeps a score. And so once that happens, it is a very real event and it shapes you into the human that you are when you're older and allows you to be very scared to do certain things or to act out, right? To be angry, to be narcissistic. And so trauma is very, very real. But the interesting thing is, why is it that, even though we know that, why is it that we get so annoyed with people who continue to use it as an excuse, and should they be using it as an excuse? Is that something that we should tolerate? Is that something we should accept? And is that something we should do for ourselves in our own lives, right? Can we hide behind the trauma that we've had? Okay, I want to talk about that because why do some people play the victim? There's very much a person who has been abused or who has experienced some kind of injustice done to them, and they are a victim of a situation. But there are those of us who chooses to play a victim role in our minds and we don't even realize it. We don't even realize that we continue to play the victim. And let me tell you, I've definitely been in that situation. I have definitely played that role. I have definitely allowed myself to be a victim for a very big portion of my life. And I'll explain to you why as well from a personal perspective. But I really want to get into if we want to stop being triggered by people who play victims, we kind of have to understand their mindset. We kind of have to jump into their brains and, walk around and go, why is it that you're doing this? Because it's freaking annoying. Why is it that we get those of us who watches people who continue to play the victim narrative, right? And people like, the celebrities out there that we gossip, that, we like to listen to the gossip. Why is it that we get annoyed with Meghan Markle? We get annoyed with Amber Heard. We get annoyed with Blake Lively, right? And we get triggered in a sense by their actions. And I think it's truly because there's a part of them that we recognize in ourselves. And you can shoot me for saying that, but I believe that. Because I think the people who are completely not victims, we can get annoyed and upset and feel injustice about the other things that they do, right? Such as things that they have done to actually abuse and hurt individuals. But when they play a victim role, we're very frustrated by that. And I truly believe that it's because we can see parts of ourselves in that action and we don't like it. You can disagree or you can agree with me. But the only reason we desperately need something is because we don't have the true form of it. And what I mean by that is when they play the victim role, what they don't have is they don't have a sense of being understood, being accepted, and they don't have a sense of true power. They will wield their victim narrative and use that as power because they don't have true self-confidence, respect, and the ability to take responsibility for their lives, go out there, take responsibility, and potentially fail. That's way too scary. That's way too scary because what's easier to do is to play the victim and say it's not my fault, to completely just push the responsibility aside and say, well, whatever terrible thing is happening in my life is not really because of me. It's because of this other person, these events, right? And so you should have pity on me. Therefore, pity is closer to love than disdain, or, well, they're getting a lot of disdain, so it's really tough on them. But they want the pity because it's such an easy card to get, unfortunately. And so it's harder to go out there and take responsibility and do the thing that you possibly can do, but also fail at. That's way too scary. That's way too risky. Okay? Take Meghan Markle, for example. I think everybody loves to hate on Meghan Markle because, the moment she tries to garner attention from the world, right, we start to feel an ick. Like something's off with this person. Something doesn't feel right. But the thing is, what she doesn't realize is attention is a bottomless pit. It feels really good in the moment, obviously when she's getting good attention, right? But it's empty calories. And she doesn't realize this because she hasn't gone deeper inside to heal that part of her that was hurt and the part of her that is actually doing the real hurting to other people. What do I mean by that? Well, she's hurting a lot of people, right? Whether it's people in her lives, whether it's the royal family, whether it's just people who are service providers in her lives, right? We've heard a lot of bad press about that. And so the reason why she's doing that is because she has so much anguish and pain that's not dissolved within her heart, that's not properly addressed. And so she has to have an outlet where the power can be felt when she has it over someone else. Okay? And she also needs good attention from her fans. And so a lot of people, so she craves obviously the attention of the world, and a lot of people feels like, oh, she's not a very good actor, during various interviews she should be acting, better, etc., etc. People aren't buying her authenticity, which is completely true, because I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with her acting skills per se. And here's why. Good actors, right? You think about Meryl Streep, you think about these people who are Heath Ledger, who are exemplary. Gosh, what is that word? They are at the top of their game when it comes to their craft. They buy into the characters that they portray. So there's no hesitation about, is this the right way to play this character? They completely understand the character, and it's very clean and clear that they're going to step into this character. Whether it's a villain, whether it's a hero, like whoever that character is, it's very clear that they step into that role and they're able to just buy into it completely and do whatever it requires to play that character. There's no if, buts, or ands. However, Meghan isn't playing a character. She's trying to be a version of herself that she thinks people will like. And that gets very murky, right? If you're playing a character, it's like you don't care whether people like you or not. You're playing a character in a movie or a TV show, so you're just completely that character. But when you are playing a version of yourself in the real world, there's still parts of you that gets triggered and that gets insecure when whatever you do, somebody's going to have a reaction. And so it's not clean, it's not clear, you're not completely buying into this character. You're pretending, and you're not even pretending full out. And that's why I don't really care if she's a good actor or not. When she was on Suits, her character wasn't my favorite character anyways. It was actually my least favorite character. And so I have nothing really to say about her acting skills, but what I do have to say is the psychology behind why she's doing what she's doing, why she's behaving the way she's behaving, and why we get such an ick, right? So the thing is, she's not able to authentically be her and take in both the light and the dark inside of her. We all struggle with this. It's not her only, but she's put on the world stage, and there's a lot of things that she struggles within, and there's a lot of putting on a mask and trying to please, trying to manipulate the population to see her in a certain light in order to like her. There's not a lot of deep introspection. I presume I don't know her at all, and all of this speculation obviously, but I presume there's not a lot of deep introspection in what area, not necessarily in the areas that she was hurt in, such as when she was hurt when her parents split up, or maybe she didn't get the type of attention that she needed as a child. She may have gotten attention, she may have gotten tons of gifts from her parents or whatnot, but it's not the type of attention that a child truly needs from parents, which is emotional, which is true understanding and good parental guide possibly, right? If she doesn't, it's not about not exploring that area. She may have explored that area, but what she has not explored is her dark side, is what that pain as a child has caused her to become as an adult, and has caused her to be the actions and behaviors that she has as an adult. That part she has not explored. And so she can't face that dark side of herself. She has to hide from it, because if she doesn't hide from it and the world sees that, then or she admits that to the world, then all hell breaks loose, because then the world is right. And she cannot have that. She has to continue to show the world, you're wrong, I am a wonderful person, please love me. And unfortunately, that dark side, that shadow side of hers, is what she's truly afraid to explore, what she's truly afraid to admit to, what she is truly afraid to recognize and to accept. But think about it. The moment she accepts it, which is she takes away all the need for attention, right? The moment that she starts focusing on herself and her family life or whatnot, the moment that happens, I think the vibe we will get from her is truly like we actually won't care about her much anymore. We actually probably will start respecting her a little bit, right? And so knowing all of this, my question for you is, can you have just a tiny bit of empathy for someone like this? For someone who is who's living a life where perhaps she's not able to truly connect with herself and have really close, good friendships around her, where she's able to be authentically her and have the world not hate on her. I mean, to be honest, I do feel bad for her. I do feel sorry for her, because to live a life where she may not be able to be herself, that's excruciating. And you know, that does parallel Princess Diana. The difference between them is Diana did not try as hard to have the public love her. Their personalities are completely different, obviously. Diana did not, so she was more melancholy. There was a sadness to her. There's more class, there's more grace to her. But there was a sadness to her that I think truly, it drew people. It made people so drawn to her, so curious about her. It's so, she was like a mystery. She did have a big heart in the fact that she really did care about children. She really did care about those who were in need. Whereas Meghan is more, and I think Diana did care about her image. I mean, how could you not, right? In that position, in that role, how could you not care at all about what people think of you when the whole world looks at you in your every move? But the difference, I think, between Diana and Meghan Markle is that Meghan is more manipulative. It's just backfiring. It's not working because I think people are more observant, perhaps, or maybe we're a little bit more in touch with our intuition. I don't know. It just feels very, very off what she's doing, right? And so I ask if you will be able to have a little bit of empathy for Meghan. You don't have to. I mean, you really don't. But the reason why is that she's not living a very fulfilled, very happy or joyful life if she is not being super authentic, right? There's a part of me that always struggles when I talk about real people when it comes to celebrities or royalty or whomever. I really struggle talking about them because I don't want to talk about real people. Because we're all growing, we're all evolving, we're all really just trying our best. And a lot of us, we're not very good at it. We're not very good at being authentic or being liked or being or knowing how to be vulnerable. And it's a process, and it's we have to learn and grow and be okay with who we are in order to get to that space of saying, yeah, I have a lot of problems, and I suck. And I hope that eventually I will learn how to accept those parts of myself. It's hard to get to that place, but once you get to that place, I think you attract people who are okay with your terrible qualities and still love you, still accept you. Okay. Now, if you were to take pity on Meghan, right? Maybe you'll see her for who she truly is. Not a victim that needs saving, okay? But a victim that deserves no more of our attention, a victim that deserves us to sort of understand that she is in the making of her own victim narrative. And we should feel empathy towards the fact that she has no clue. She is stuck in this cycle of continuously wanting attention because she thinks it will feed that emptiness inside of her, and continuously getting the opposite of the love and the accolades and the, good endorsements that she's looking for. And so she's like continuously wanting more and more and more, and she's just gonna, if she keeps doing this, it will just spiral out of control. I don't even know how that's affecting her marriage. I mean, what she needs to do is she needs to look in the mirror and admit that she has in many ways become the version of herself that I think she's afraid to be. I think she's very intelligent. I think she knows what she's doing. Like I said, she's very manipulative, so she knows how to manipulate. It's just not working in her favor. But the first step to healing truly is for her to look at herself and go, there are a lot of people who hates me, and maybe it's not because they've gotten me wrong. Maybe it's not because they're the problem. Let me take a look at myself. And that's the first step. And once she does that, I think the majority of us would be able to say something like, okay, that's understandable. Now, for my friends in the second camp, right, who disagree with the title of this video, I want to say, okay, once again, what was the title of this video? Excuse me? Stop using your trauma as an excuse. So if you disagree with that, and you do believe that trauma is something that completely overtakes your life, and therefore you should not use that, therefore it's okay to use as an excuse, right? For etc., etc. Now, I want to talk about that because even though I just painted Meghan pretty much in a victimhood, like in a different kind of victimhood, I do believe real victims exist, right? So I agree with you on that front. I do believe that children, animals, right? People who are abused from a person who is in a position of power, whatever that may mean, there are actual victims, okay? But this video is not geared towards those individuals, and especially it's not geared towards children, right? What it's geared towards is people who are, well, adults, first of all, right? And those of us who can make choices in our lives that can shape our lives into the ones that we want. And so the title really is about responsibility. And that word is not there. I don't want to use that word because we're supposed to say that, because, it's the right thing to say, because it's, the moral thing to say, because it sounds great to grow your character. I honestly don't care about any of that. They're true, but I don't care about any of that. The reason why I say we have to take responsibility and we have to stop using our victimhood as a narrative, as an excuse, is because the only way to have any sort of good life, the only way is to take responsibility. The only way is to say, okay, these things that has happened to me, however horrific, however terrible, now I am understanding of my past. Now I am starting to heal it. Now I'm in a position where I can make different choices. I'm gonna take responsibility and I'm gonna move forward. And I'm no longer gonna use these things as a crutch why I cannot get to where I wanna go. Is it gonna be hard? Yes. Will you eventually reach your goals? We don't know. Unfortunately, we don't. None of us knows whether we're going to. If we knew, there wouldn't be such thing as faith and hope and all those wonderful things you hear at church. There wouldn't be those things, right? We don't know, but that's also the adventure of life. That's also why we wanted to come here and experience this life. And when we let go of that victim narrative, it is extremely scary. It's terrifying. There was somebody in my life whom I thought had a lot of power over me. And I had to, years and years and years would go by, and I would be miserable. But I always, it's a belief, it was a belief in my mind that I couldn't do anything about it. I was a prisoner of my own beliefs. And of course, there were circumstances, and I grew up in a situation where there was abuse, but I allowed it. At the end of the day, even though I didn't know better for a while, but as I grew up and as I learned more, I understood more. And I understood that the only way to move forward was I had to take responsibility. And it was terrifying to take that responsibility and say, this person who's in my life, who is very powerful in my life, but I am still, at the end of the day, responsible for my own life. And the moment I do that is the first day of my life where I am able to direct it in the direction that I want. And before that day, it felt impossible to do that. And even after making that decision, and to be honest, it wasn't like a one-day conscious decision. It was like a gradual, I had to learn it over and over again decision, which is always great. But once I made that decision, over and over again, that's when you truly start building confidence in yourself as well. And so when I say stop using your victimhood as an excuse, it's not from a place of hatred or judgment or demoralization, annoyance, yes, but it's not from a place where I'm just purely judging the person, but it's a place of you will continue to be stuck if you don't make a different decision. Because the truth of the matter is, the reality of life is that if we don't risk and make choices in our lives where we are fully responsible for, then we won't be able to get what we want. And so trauma is real, absolutely. But if we don't face that dark side of us, if we don't face it, in Meghan's case, right, it becomes narcissistic, okay? And if we don't face that narcissistic side of us, it's in all of us, whether great or small, if we don't face that, it will own us. If we don't face our demons, it will possess us. And it will multiply, and it will fester, and it will grow. So yes, I do stand by my title, excuse me. Stop using trauma as an excuse. But I'm not saying it flippantly. I'm saying it as a matter of fact. I'm saying it because it will lead us nowhere when we continue to do so. And I think the majority of us understands that, because we get really annoyed when we see people doing it. And the whole point of understanding trauma is so that we can move forward into the lives that we want. And so the more people who stay stuck using it as an excuse, the more the world will unfortunately show them the harsh truth the harsh truth. And what is that harsh truth? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about our trauma. We care to a certain extent, but the only person who can change is not the people who are around us that we're trying to garner that sense of pity or that sense of needing their rescue. At the end of the day, we are the only people who can rescue us. And once we understand it, once we get past that terrifying reality, it's extremely empowering. We pick up sort of like these toolkits. The moment that we start to take responsibility, the moment that we start to move forward, we start gathering these tools. We start gathering abilities and skill sets. And eventually, the reward will come where we will feel that sense of peace, being proud of the person that we've always wanted to become. And life will be very different at that time. And so, I guess what I want to end off is say, we're both shadow and light. We have beautiful parts of us, and we have these parts of us that are ugly and mean and jealous, and we envy, and we're narcissistic, and we're controlling, and we're manipulative. I think all of us has those parts. And I think those of us who are able to come to grips with those dark parts of us and not be so self-deprecating that we think we're the most terrible people in the world, and not fall in the other spectrum where we don't believe that we are those things, but somewhere in the middle where we recognize those and we go, okay, that's fine, I have those things, let's explore, let's look at that and be okay with that, and still try to move forward to be good to others, to be good to ourselves. I think that balance, I don't know, I think that is how we should live our lives. In any case, I want to send you love. I want to send you feelings of understanding, feelings of okayness, that things will be okay. Things will always eventually be okay. And so I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? What are your thoughts on people in your own life that have played a victim? What about yourself? Have you done that? And where you are now? Love to hear any stories about overcoming. And I appreciate you being here. I'll see you next time.